20 years ago this week, I had the worst migraine of my life. I had the auras, so my vision was all messed up. Less on my body was numb, pins and needle sensations. My speech was slurred. I was in really bad shape. And this led to a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis in a few weeks. But at this point in my life, with dealing with the worst migraine of my life, I didn't know what was going on. I called my neurologist, my headache doctor, and he prescribed some medicine, a really strong painkiller to numb it. And I would see him in the office on a Monday. Well, I was just feeling really, really bad, terrible. I knew something serious was going on in the body. I couldn't wait till Monday. So my wife and I went to the hospital, the emergency room, and they thought I had a stroke. I had a CT scan, which didn't show a stroke. It just had all these stroke-like symptoms, but it wasn't a stroke. So they said, see the doctor on Monday and just best of luck to you, if you will. So when I get there on Monday, my whole body is starting to shut down. I have all these issues. It's becoming more increasingly difficult for me to walk. The headache is still there. Like when that painkiller wears off, the head pain, the migraine is still there. My vision isn't right. My speech is a little slurred. I'm really in a decline. The doctor ordered an MRI, and before I know it, I'm in the hospital because the MRI showed lesions on the brain. And when I eventually did see the MRI, it looked like Swiss cheese from all the lesions. Then I spent like weeks upon weeks in the hospital because I couldn't see. My vision was really blurry, really difficult to swallow. My whole left side of the body was numb, pins and needles. There's no way I could walk, couldn't even urinate. The whole body was shutting down. So I was at the University of Pennsylvania for 3 weeks, testing me for anything and everything. I was like a human guinea pig. Let's do this. Let's do this. So I had, the MRIs, the spinal tap, the evoked potential test. I had all sorts of different brain tests. Like evoked potential was one of them. And after 3 weeks, they finally came to a conclusion that it was multiple sclerosis. And from that point, they sent me to a rehab facility. I was there for about a month, learning how to function as a disabled man. So at this point in my life, I think I'm 38 years old. I have, multiple sclerosis. I have migraines. I'm bipolar, psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis. Am I missing anything? I think that's everything that I was having going on at the time. And well, there's PTSD and some other issues going as well. But they were the pretty much primary things, multiple sclerosis and bipolar dealing with. So I had all these ailments. I was taking all this medicine, needed a cane, walker, cooling vest, all of this. So I lived in this MS hell for 7 years. But I was basically sick from the age 6 when I was run over by a car to age 44 when I found a way out. The way out was I never considered that I could heal myself. It was impossible for me to accept that I could heal myself. I had a belief system that I was incurable, and that was my reality. And I was really stressed, really overwhelmed with life because nothing was working out. Everything was happening to me. My health was in a decline. It was really hard getting to the gym and stuff because I was going from relapsing, remitting MS to primary progressive MS. So it's a slow, steady decline. So life was getting harder and harder and harder and more difficult. So then I used to be a couch potato. Then I saw something on TV that got my interest. I was a couch potato. I would watch anything and everything on TV. I was watching ghost hunting shows, but I didn't know if it was real or fake. It was like TV is probably fake. Who knows? But then I saw a tweet from a ghost hunter saying, hey, we're having this event at Fort Mifflin. I was like, well, I can get myself there. I'll get a hotel room nearby because I won't be able to drive at that time of night because my vision wasn't so great. I just wasn't in great shape, but I figured I can go there for an hour, before the chronic fatigue got too bad and more issues. So I did my research, I was like, all right, if I'm going to Fort Mifflin, where do I want to go? Oh, I'm going to go to the Casemates. Apparently has the most activity. So I get there and they have different groups going to different areas. I ignored that. I followed the group into the Casemates because I figured I didn't have much time. So when I was sitting there in Casemates, sitting on the bench there, and that was a real adventure too, getting around with a cane in that place in the dark that's another adventure. So I get to the Casemates, find a bench, I'm sitting there. It's kind of boring because you got to realize the Fort Mifflin is near an airport. So there's lots of noise, lots and lots of noise. But they're trying to do EVP sessions, what's where they're asking questions, they're trying to get something on a recorder, but it was way too noisy. So this is going for about 20 minutes and it was kind of boring. Nothing was really happening at that point. But then somebody put out their flashlight and they were asking the flashlight questions and the flashlight would either blink twice, blink once, turn off. It was doing different responses. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but it's their flashlight. So I was like, okay, let me pull out my flashlight and it was doing the same thing. So after my flashlight, then I felt like somebody sitting next to me on the bench that I could not see. And when they sat next to me, I just felt this overwhelming sense of dread overcome me, like over just overwhelming dread, because during the history of the Fort Mifflin is that area was used as a prison during the Civil War age. So this was obviously a soldier, probably, just feeling miserable, stuck in this little casemate in prison for the Civil War. So, okay, after the hour, I go home. Well, I go back to the hotel room. But I'm not one to let things slide, if you will. That so there is something here that I cannot see, ghost or real, but I can't see them. So I wasn't sure if TV was real or fake, but now I had a direct experience. So now I had a direct experience of that there's something out there. So this led me to research, like what's going on with me? What's going on? What's going on with what I experienced? Like my reality shifted. Before I had to, see it to believe it. And now I saw it and I'll change my perspective like, oh, ghosts are real. So I started to read some books. I be very, very slowly because I could only read a couple of pages before I would start getting a migraine. Reading was one of my migraine triggers, so I couldn't do too much of that. So I was reading this book slow and steady. It was from a medium. I figured let's read a book from a medium because they supposedly talk to the dead. So maybe they can explain what I witnessed, what I experienced. So I'm reading this book, a couple, maybe 5, 10 pages a day. Eventually I get to this part where they're talking about meditation, where how they use meditation to raise their vibration to be at the same level of spirits. Okay, that's interesting. But then they talk about the benefits of meditation, not just besides of how they use that, but the overall benefits of meditation. And when I read that meditation brings inner peace, I'm like, that's it. I need inner peace. Because I was so stressed out, so overwhelmed with life, I needed inner peace. So I began that night with a meditation practice. But I thought meditation means your mind grows quiet, like instantly. I'm meditating, mind grows quiet. Nope, it doesn't work that way. So the mind would start thinking like the mind does. I'd be like, stop thinking. Mind would start thinking again. I'd be like, oh, stop thinking. Mind would start thinking again. I'd be like, oh, stop thinking. Then it's like, whoa, wait a second here. I'm aware of these thoughts and thinking. So I'm not my thoughts. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. If I'm not my thoughts, who am I? So I sat with that question for a while. Who am I? And my practice was 5 minutes a day. I wouldn't really call it a formal meditation practice because when the mind would start thinking, I would come back to my feet. Like, where are my feet? Where are my hands? But for me, it was mostly where are my feet? Mind thinking, where are my feet? Mind thinking, where are my feet? So it's more of a mindfulness practice of learning to be here in this moment. So what I was doing was putting more gaps into the thought stream, more gaps, more peace. So I was sitting with this question with my simple 5 minute a day practice of who am I? Then one day I simply heard a voice. It could have been my intuition say, perfect spirit. And like when I heard that voice, I'm like, that's it. I'm spirit. And it's perfect just the way it is. I'm not this damaged mind and body. Then I simply knew that all is well. All since my health was simply gone. Then about 14 months later, no more cane, no medicine, no nothing. My health was completely restored. Like I experienced my miracle. And this is where I help people today is to learn to be present, to be here, not caught up in the mind. And most people don't realize that we are the one that sees through the eyes, that you are consciousness, that you are soul. If this makes no sense to you, look at old pictures of yourself from a toddler to a teenager to a young adult to an adult to where you are now. Look at all these different bodies. Where did you go? All these different bodies. Where did you go? No place. The one who sees through the eyes never changes. That is the spirit, the witness. But we get so caught up in our mind. That's the state of separation, that we get caught into the separation, forgetting that our essence of who we really are. So the way I help individuals is by getting them present, getting them here in this moment, and getting some distance away from this chatter that's nonsense, the nonsense chatter, that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not deserving, all this stuff. We need to let all that go and just be who we are. So once we know who we are, things are aligned. There's a direct component between that of knowing who you are and health. That spirit, the soul, makes the impossible possible because it's connected to all that is. The energy that's in the star is the energy within you. The energy within God, you could say, is the energy within you. That you are an aspect of source of all that is. It can do all things. It's just this mental interference, these stories that you don't have the power, you don't have the skills, that you're incurable. All these stories are keeping you unwell and a state of dis-ease. But when you start getting rid of the stress, start bringing the body back into ease, I've witnessed some miraculous things that happen. Miracles happen when we're aligned to who we really are. I think that's enough of a story today. I'm losing steam, you could say, but thanks for listening. And hopefully you'll check out my other videos here on this channel. Lots of meditations. And I also have my community as well. It's just $11 a month. And we do these weekly healing circles. We do psychic readings because we're connected to all that is. So sometimes I give you clarity of what's going on in your life because if you're so caught up in here, you're not able to listen to your own wisdom. So I can give you those insights while we get you back aligned to who you really are and allow those miracles to happen. All right. Well, take good care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon.